y'all, and welcome back to Sunshine and Serenity. And today we are talking all about seeds. So it is getting super close to the springtime season, which means seed starting season is here. So I'm going to share with you guys today the varieties of what I am going to be growing in the spring and summer garden this year. If you are new, welcome. We are excited to have you. We are a family growing in Central Arkansas, Zone 7, and this is our very first homestead. We actually grew several years prior to buying this property in the city where we were at. I had raised beds, and I learned how to grow, and I was canning and all of that stuff, kind of learning before I actually got to this property. So that's a little bit of backstory about our family. If you will take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button, it helps our channel grow. It helps us be able to get our story out there to more people and hopefully help more people learn how to grow food and maybe inspire more people to start living a more sustainable lifestyle. If you are a returning viewer, we are so grateful that you have decided to return once again, and we are happy to have you here as well. Okay, so if you haven't been following me, we just bought this property back in February, and so we're still working on building up raised garden beds. For right now, we have 2 in-ground plots that we grow in. We're hoping to add at least 3 raised garden beds this year so that I can grow my perennial herbs and also a strawberry bed in those 3 garden beds. And then eventually, what is our large in-ground garden space, I would like to actually turn into just a raised bed garden area. But those things take time. You have to do it a little bit at a time, so we're not able to do that all at once. So I'm going to be sharing with you what we're going to be growing this year in the spring and summer garden. And I do not grow any of like your typical cool season crops in the springtime because I do have such limited space that I have to kind of grow seasonally. So I have to grow those things in the fall and the winter time, which I didn't get to do this year because I didn't have any raised garden bed space and I didn't really have anywhere to put them. So I'm hoping by next fall that I'm able to actually grow a fall garden because it's my absolute favorite. But that being said, we have to actually grow seasonally. So what you're going to be seeing in this video is going to be just things that will go out in the spring and summer garden. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to talk about are beans. So there are several types of beans. Last year I grew bush beans and they didn't do very well. The year prior to that, actually grew bush beans very well, whereas my pole beans didn't do well. So you'll have years like that where things grow well and some things don't grow well. This year, I am planning on putting a cattle panel arched basically all the way down the one row of the in-ground garden, and I'm going to make that my bean tunnel because we didn't get very many beans last year. I wasn't able to can and put up any of those. So this year, I'm going to be doing the Kentucky Wonder pole bean. And as you can see, I got quite a bit of those. And you'll notice that my seed collection has all different kinds of seeds. These I got from the Dollar Tree. I grow Dollar Tree seeds, and they grow just as well as me as some of the more expensive company seeds. So get whatever you can afford. Seeds are seeds. They will work, I promise. So that's what I'm going to be growing. Green bean wise, I'm going to be doing a straight bean tunnel down one row of the in-ground garden this year with nothing but Kentucky Wonder pole beans. So that is the only bean that I'm growing this year. So those are my beans. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about are squashes. Now these are my winter squashes. So the winter squashes that I'm going to be growing this year are the honey nut squash. I'm going to grow the sweet dumpling winter squash. I'm going to grow some sugar pie pumpkins. I'm going to grow some butternut winter squash and also some butternut squash. So although I'm growing quite a bit of varieties of winter squash, I will probably only plant like 1 plant per these varieties just because we don't go through a ton of winter squashes, but we do like them. So in soups and things like that. So I'm going to grow each of these varieties and probably just do like 1 or 2 plants each. I will probably grow those over in the smaller in-ground garden bed this year, along with watermelon plants. So I will probably just let those kind of go wild and let them do what they're going to do. But those are the varieties that I'm hoping to be able to grow. All right, now let's talk about summer squash. So I had this thing where we have squash bugs really, really bad here in Central Arkansas, and it's really hard to grow squash. I also deal with a lot of the squash vine borers. They are pretty bad at taking out my squash plants and my vining plants and pretty much anything that vines, basically. So what happened is I used to grow squash and zucchini. It was really difficult. I hardly got any good viable plants because of the bugs, and if I did, they only produce, you know, a handful of things. Well, then I had somebody recommend to me this variety of summer squash. It can be eaten like a summer squash or cured like a winter squash, and it actually was the most resistant squash or vining plant that I had that held up to both the squash bugs and the vine borers, and it was my favorite. I loved this squash more than I loved zucchini and summer yellow squash. It tastes so good fried up. It tastes like a potato. Like, it was my favorite, and I didn't get to grow it last year, and I was actually out of seeds, so I had to get some more. But the zucchino rampicante. So this is your tromboncino squash. You'll hear a lot of people say, call it tromboncino squash. That's what these are. And they grow really long, and like I said, you can use it like a summer squash. You can let it cure and dry and use it like a winter squash. It's so versatile, and honestly, this is probably the only squash I will ever grow moving forward because it's my absolute favorite. So there you go. That's the only summer squash that I am growing. Likewise, we last year got gifted a bunch of cucumbers last year that I put up for pickles. And so we're not really growing a whole lot of cucumber options this year, except for this one cucumber variety that is my absolute favorite cucumber. You get so much from one of it, and it's actually a melon, which is funny. So if you let it continue to grow, it will grow into like a melon. But you can also use it like a cucumber. And I am talking about the Armenian yard-long cucumber. These things get so long, and you can get so many fridge pickles out of just one of these cucumbers. So if I grow just one of these plants, I will have plenty of cucumbers to be able to just use for fresh eating fridge pickles throughout the summer. So this is the only cucumber that I will be growing. Every year we I kind of let my daughter, who really loves like melons, I kind of let her kind of pick out a variety that maybe she wants to try to grow, or maybe she would like to try for the first time. Because I'm not a big watermelon eater or melon eater, and my son isn't either. Only my husband and my daughter are. So because of that, we kind of trial different melons and things like that. We tried the Kahari or the Kajari melon one year, and we weren't real big fans of that melon. It just wasn't our preference. And so this year we're gonna try the Cajo mini watermelon, or Cajo. I'm probably saying that wrong because I'm from the South and I say everything wrong. But we're going to try this one. It's a mini watermelon, so I'm hoping that it's small enough that we won't have like large melons go to waste because we don't all eat it. So we're going to try that one and see what we think. So I'll keep you updated on that one. Okay, another thing that I'm starting from seed, I have started onions from both seeds and from sets before, and I had more success and had bigger onions when I started my onions from seed versus buying and starting from sets. So I'm going to go back to starting from seeds this year, and I'm doing a bunching onion. So I'm going to do a bunching onion. I'm going to be doing a brown onion. I'm going to be doing a white onion. And there's another brown onion. And then I'm going to be doing another type of like a Grand X hybrid onion. So I'm going to be growing those again from seed this year and see how they do, because last year I grew from sets and they did not do very well. So I'm going to go back to seeds and see how that goes, and just see if maybe it was a coincidence that they did so well from seed that one year, or if it is a regular occurrence. If it is, then I will just start starting from seeds. Okay, so coffee break. So if you have coffee or something, get a drink. Okay, moving on to one of my favorite things is okra. So I love okra. And a lot of people down here in the South call it okra. So I love it. This is a Southern thing. So if you live up in the North, you probably have never heard of okra. You're probably like, what in the world is that? But we love okra, and I actually can my okra using the old Alabama gardener's recipe for canning his okra and squash. He sadly passed away and is no longer with us, but I still use a lot of his videos for references, and I can my okra for frying later. We love fried okra. We love okra in our gumbo. It's, like I said, it's a Southern thing, and we love it. It is prolific. It grows really well here in the South because we get so hot, and it loves the heat. And last summer, we were 100-degree temperatures and very dry for months upon months. And okra loves it. Okra thrives in that kind of weather. So it grows really well for us down here in the South. So that being said, I have a lot of okra varieties that I am growing. So the first one is your Clemson spineless. So this is a common variety that a lot of people, you'll hear them grow. Another kind is the emerald okra. I'm also growing the long pod Perkins okra. I haven't grown this one yet, so we'll see how it does. I'm also growing the red burgundy okra. I am giving this one another shot because my okra last year actually got stunted, and so I didn't get any okra last year. It got stunted for some reason, and so I didn't even get to try out a lot of these varieties that would have been first time for me last year. So this is the heavy hitter okra. I'm going to try this out again this year because, like I said, last year my okra got stunted, so I didn't get to try it out. My absolute favorite variety is the Red Hill Country okra. And this is more of a fat pod. It's shorter, so it doesn't get quite as long, but it's fatter around. And it's my favorite for frying because they make much bigger pieces of okra when you slice them and fry them up. So that is my favorite variety. So I'm definitely going to be growing that. And then I didn't get to see how this performed last year either, the Motherland okra. So this is another new one to me that I haven't got to try yet. So I'm going to be trying that again this year. I think part of it was our crazy weather, why it got stunted last year, and also the spot that they were growing in was more shady than I originally anticipated, and so I think they didn't do as well there in that spot. So they are going to be moved out into the main in-ground garden this year where it's full sun all the time, so hopefully they'll do much better. Okay, next up is peppers. Now, I had an amazing tomato and pepper year last year. I mean, amazing. Despite all of the drought and the heat, you know, the really, really hot temperatures, I had an amazing tomato and pepper year. And I said that because I had so many peppers that I was not going to grow as many varieties of peppers this year. I lied. I will say, though, that a lot of the varieties I'm growing this year, I did not grow last year. So that's my justification. So, y'all. Okay, so the first one is I'm growing the chocolate bell pepper. This is one thing I did not get a lot of last year was bell peppers. So you'll see a lot of varieties of bell peppers in here. Also, the purple beauty pepper. So that's another bell. The Alma paprika pepper, I'm growing these so that I can dehydrate and grind up into paprika powder because we use a lot of paprika in our seasonings. The Corno di Toro pepper. So this is an Italian sweet grilling pepper. I haven't got to try these yet. I figure it's fun to throw a couple new varieties in every year to try to grow. Another bell pepper mix. Another bell pepper. Like I said, you'll see a lot of bell peppers. I'm growing these banana peppers, but I'm not growing as many of them because I was pretty overrun with banana peppers last year. But I'm growing these because I put these in a lot of pepper mixes and a lot of recipes and things like that. So I'm growing these strictly because I like to throw these in a sweet pepper mix when I'm cooking. But I won't grow as many plants as I grew last year because they were very prolific. I'm doing the Nata Pino. So We use jalapenos like in our salsa and stuff, but I think it would be really fun to try like a non-jalapeno because we're not big hot pepper fans. Like I'm not a big hot pepper fan. I like the sweet peppers more than I do like the hot peppers. And so I figured this might be fun to try to like maybe make some milder salsa for the kids, or even like slice them in half and try to make it like some, stuffed peppers with those, because they are sweet and not hot. So I'm going to give these a go and see how they do. The red Marconi pepper. So this is supposed to be a sweet pepper. Funny story, when I grew some peppers, I grew the red Marconi next to, I think, the red lipstick pepper. And they both ended up being hot. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. So they may have been the same pepper that I don't know. But I'm going to give these a go again because it says it's supposed to be a sweet pepper. Like I said, sweet pepper mix. Sweet peppers are my jam. And then I'm going to do the Cubanelle peppers. These are nice large peppers. Also a sweet pepper. Again, another red bell. And then your typical jalapenos. I grow these every year because I use them in salsa. So jalapenos. All right, so those are all the peppers. All right, so the very last category, which also is one of my favorite things to grow because it's one of my favorite things to eat. There's nothing like a fresh, homegrown garden tomato. If you have had tomatoes from the grocery store and don't like tomatoes, grocery store tomatoes are so far off from what homegrown garden tomatoes taste like. Like, I urge you, like, if you have not had a homegrown garden tomato, try them again because they taste absolutely fantastic. They taste nothing like the disappointing tomatoes you get from the grocery store. So try them again because they are amazing. But I have divided my tomatoes into 2 different groups, and I wasn't going to grow as many varieties this year, mainly because I did have such a good tomato year last year, and I wanted to be able to have enough garden space in the in-ground to grow everything else that I needed to grow this year. Last year, my main in-ground garden was nothing but tomatoes and peppers. This year, I'm having to put my okra there. I'm doing a bean tunnel. So I'm having to put more things in that main garden space. So I'm not able to have as much space for tomatoes. But the reason why I have so many varieties is because all of my determinate variety of tomatoes I can grow in grow bags along my fence line and not have to take up space in the main in-ground garden. So that is the reason why I have so many varieties. I also have learned what varieties do well for us and what varieties we really love and what varieties we don't love so much. And like I said, I throw a couple of new varieties every year just to kind of see. So you will notice that I'm not growing quite as many cherry tomatoes this year because we've just found that as prolific as they are, a lot of the varieties we just don't like. We like your typical red cherry, but we weren't a fan of like the sunrise tomatoes, the blueberry tomato or cherry tomatoes. We weren't a fan of like all those the ones that are supposed to be like fruity and everyone loves. Like, we just were not a fan of. So you won't see as many cherry tomato varieties, but you'll see a lot more like slicer type tomatoes. Okay, so first I'm going to go through our determinate varieties, or those that are more bushy versus indeterminate. So if you don't know the difference, a determinate variety of tomato has basically a determined size. So it will only get 3-4 foot tall. It has a determined size, and it bushes out. So it gets more bushy, and it puts on all of its fruit, and it ripens all of its fruit at the exact same time. That is what a determinate tomato is. An indeterminate tomato, it continues to grow and grow and grow. They can get 6, 7, 8 feet tall, and they will continue to put on tomatoes as long as the season allows. So that is the difference between those two, if you didn't know what those two were. So I'm doing Roma tomatoes. So I always do a lot of paste tomatoes because we make a lot of sauces. We do a lot of barbecue sauces, all of that stuff. So I do mainly grow on my determinate side those type of tomatoes. But we have the Roma tomatoes. And I'm going to grow this one. I've not grown this one before. It's the Purple Rain tomato, and this is actually a dwarf variety of tomato. So it says, tidy and compact 3-foot plants are smothered in purple beefsteak tomatoes with beautifully balanced flavor. Fruit averages 6 to 12 ounces and are ideal for slicing sandwiches and can also double as a nice sauce tomato. So I'm going to, like I said, these I can grow in grow bags. They won't have to take up space in the main garden. And beefsteak tomatoes did really well for us last year. So being able to have some smaller, compact varieties of the beefsteak tomato or of a beefsteak, I thought was really good. Again, another Roma, the Amish paste. So again, another paste tomato. That's some more Amish paste. I have not got to try these yet. These are from M.I. Gardner. And this is the 42-day tomato. So these are supposed to ripen and be ready in 42 days. They are smaller fruit, but I thought that would be really cool to try out, because if they do ripen in 42 days, once they all ripen, you can pull them out and start, put a new plant in its spot and be able to continue having tomatoes throughout the season. So I'm going to try these and see how they go. The next one is that's an indeterminate. My bad, I think. Yes, this is an indeterminate. Sorry, it snuck its way in there. San Marzano, again, another paste tomato. This is the Geranium Kiss tomato. So this is like a cherry tomato, and as you can see, it looks like it's pretty prolific, and it's supposed to be good for like growing in pots and patio areas. So I'm gonna give that a go, see how that goes. This is a bush steak hybrid. So this again is another dwarf plant, and they have pretty large fruit, so I'm excited about that. The Silvery Fir Tree tomato. So these have a citrusy tasting fruit. It's actually a Russian heirloom, so that's really cool. I always like to grow things that have a really cool story. The Tiny Tim tomato, again, that's another dwarf variety, so I'm going to try that. The Early Cascade tomato. So this says that it looks more like a market tomato, so like what you would see at market. It's more uniform, round, really pretty fruit, so we're going to try that. And then another paste tomato, which is the San Marzano. So I have several seeds of those, so when I need them to start, I can. Okay, so those are the determinate tomatoes. So now we're going to move on to the indeterminate tomatoes. Now these I will have to grow in the main garden. I will do just a solid cattle panel all the way down the row. I may have to maybe do 2 rows of them. I'm hoping to only have to do 1 row, because a lot of these varieties I will only grow like 1 or 2 plants, more than likely just 1, unless they're my absolute favorite, which I'll tell you when I get there what my favorite tomatoes are, and I will grow multiple plants of those. But yeah, so I'll just grow them down 1 long row on a cattle panel for support, and that's how I will grow the indeterminates. So the beefsteak, this is something that I grew last year. I grew a beefsteak tomato. It did phenomenal, like putting on fruits in 100-degree weather, phenomenal. Like the beefsteak tomato just did amazing for us, so I'm growing that again this year, as well as, you can't see, there's no picture, but the Cherokee purple tomato. So this is a very standard tomato. A lot of people grow it. A lot of people ask for it. It's very standard, just, your purple shoulder tomato, but it did phenomenal again for us last year. 100-degree temperatures, was still putting on fruit, didn't drop its blooms, so it did great. So I'm growing that one again. The Marglobe tomato. Actually, this is an indeterminate. It says determinate, but then on the side it says indeterminate. So this is actually a determinate tomato. So that does belong in the others. So that's a determinate that I'll be growing. So I thought it snuck its way into the wrong thing. All right, my absolute #1 favorite tomato that I've ever grown, Dr. Witches, or Dr. Witchies. Again, I'm from the South, probably pronouncing that wrong. But this tomato is phenomenal. I love this tomato because it is low acid. I have acid reflux real bad, so I can't eat a ton of tomatoes if they are more acidic. And this one is not. This is very low acid, but it was my absolute favorite flavor profile, favorite tasting tomato. It was phenomenal. I didn't get to grow any of these last year because a lot of my stuff that I started from seed, I never got to plant out because a lot of it didn't make it, and so I had to buy a lot of my starts last year. Again, last year was our first year on the property, so we didn't really, we weren't really super prepared because of moving in February and all of that. So this year I am making sure that I will probably start extra of this tomato just to make sure that I have this tomato. But my favorite, Dr. Witchy's. All right, the next one is the Paul Robeson. I have not got to try this, but I've heard great things about it. Again, last year was a hard seed starting year for us, so I didn't get to try it. So I'm going to try it this year. The Abe Lincoln tomato. I did try to grow this 2 years ago. The plant did not do super well for me. I actually don't think I even got any tomatoes out of it. But I have heard great things about this, so I'm going to give it another try and see. And hopefully it does better for me this time. Again, another beefsteak tomato. All right, this is the Isis candy cherry tomato. So this is a cherry tomato I have not tried yet. So we're going to try it this year because we like to try a new variety of cherry tomato every year just to see if there's any more that we like besides just your standard cherry tomato. This one I got from M.I. Gardner. It's the Giant Crimson Tomato. Has an amazing story, and I bought these last year. Didn't get to try them, but I'm going to try them this year because I want to see what those turn out like. Again, another Dr. Witchy's. Perrin tomato. I haven't tried these, but they're supposed to make really pretty uniform market type looking fruit. So I'm going to try that. And then my absolute favorite, it's not really a cherry tomato, but it was our absolute favorite, is the Brad's Atomic Grape tomato. This is one of those, like, either you love it or you hate it type of tomato. We love it. We think it just tastes so good. And actually, I'm looking in here now. I will probably have to order some more seeds because this is our favorite, absolute favorite tomato. So if I grow multiple plants of a cherry type tomato, it will be this one. All right, so obviously this did not include any of my herbs, so I'm growing, your typical herbs. I'm also I will be doing a lot of medicinal herbs if we're able to get my perennial raised garden bed set up. So I will be doing a lot of perennial medicinal herbs, a lot of things that will come back every year. I didn't include those things because there's just so many of those that this video would be like forever long, and this video is still kind of long, so I did not include those, but I will be starting and growing herbs as well, and flowers and things like that for the pollinators. But these are just a lot of the things that we eat that will go in the main gardens. And so yeah, so that's what I'm getting ready to start soon. I will probably starting seeds. I'll probably get my onions started pretty soon because they have to go out like March. But the rest of the stuff I'll start starting between the end of January through March. I will be starting all of those things. I direct seed my beans. I will direct seed my cucumbers, my melons. I will direct seed my squashes, my okra. So really the only thing I'm starting ahead of time are herbs, flowers, onions, tomatoes, peppers, and that's about it. That's all I start vegetable-wise ahead of time. The rest I direct seed, and they do really well that way. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way to the end, I thank you. And let me know in the comments what varieties you guys are growing, what varieties you love, maybe something I haven't heard of that you think I should try. I'm always up for adding 1 or 2 new things in the gardening season every year just to try new things to see, if we like something. Because if I hadn't tried new things, I would have never found some of my favorite things to grow to replace some of the ones that are harder for me to grow. So I'd appreciate any comments you have below. Again, if you will hit the like and subscribe button. and hang around with us. We've got more fun things planned. We're getting into gardening season. I'm still going to be canning and going through our freezers because we will be getting another cow in the spring. So we have to start going through that. Again, I'm doing the Pantry challenge. If you don't know what that is, it is started by Three Rivers Homestead. Go check her channel out. But we are participating in that in the month of January and February. So yeah, so go check her channel out, learn all about that, join in on that challenge. But that's all I've got for you, friends. So until I see you guys next time, y'all have a wonderful day and a blessed week, and I will see y'all next time. Bye, friends.